Welcome back to 3-Point Firefighter. Before we get started, let me tell you about something important. The Fire Service Psychology Association will be holding its 8th annual Fire Service Psychology Association, FSPA, conference October 9th, 10, 2025, proudly hosted in partnership with the Pearland Fire Department. As the first and only event dedicated to bridging the gap between professional psychology and the fire service, this conference offers an unparalleled opportunity to connect with fire service leaders, peer support members, clinicians, and psychologists. They will dive into critical discussions on mental health, trauma, and resilience, and be part of the movement to establish fire service psychology as a recognized field. For information on registration and hotel accommodations, visit the FSPA conference webpage in the link below. And now let's get on with the podcast.
Yeah. Hey. 3-Point Firefighter, always ready for more. Saving citizens and leaving egos at the door. Another day up in the life, showing you what it takes. Got the hunger, pride, drive, spirit that never breaks. Yeah, always there when danger is threatening. When seconds count, guess what? We're counting the seconds. 3-Point Firefighter. 3-Point Firefighter. Hey, IGAF.
It's happening any second now. I think we're recording now. Okay.
It is now.
Welcome back to 3-Point Firefighter. Tonight, my guest is Michelle Harris. Now, I just recently met Michelle at a training for training to perform under pressure. We're both repping that business pretty hard with hat and a shirt. She's been a firefighter for 7 years, but she probably has 15 years experience. She trains constantly. She's an instructor. She's originally from Colorado Springs, right? And ended up in Michigan. I love my Michigan firefighters. So I'm going to have the audience kind of give you a little. Michelle Harris. All right, guys, calm down. Listen, hey guys, stop it. I got to talk to Michelle for a second. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. People, come on, listen, stop it. Sorry, the audience here. I got a live audience now. I didn't know if you knew that.
Yeah, no, I do now.
All right. Well, let's have a coldie right here before we get started. Cheers to you, sister.
Cheers.
I am hammered after one drink. Oh my God. But here's how we met. A couple weeks ago, last week, I don't remember. It seems like forever ago. We took a fantastic fire. It's called a conference, but it's more in line with like a fire school, I would say. It's 3 straight days of outside getting, taught a bunch of stuff. Fantastic 3 days, but you're exhausted after that third day. So day one, she's there. She pretty much either she adopted us, the fire department that I work for. There's 4 of us there. Either she adopted us or we adopted her. We don't know. But we ended up for the next 3 days kind of staying together, working together. And I was so impressed that I was like, you got to be on my podcast because you gave it all you got. And that's why I say, I know you've been on for 7 years, but it's like you've been on for 15. The skill level you seem to have and the passion you have for instructing is next level. So, so much so, I've asked her to come to my department this summer to do some teaching. So Michelle, thanks for being on.
Oh, happy to be here.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about, you're supposed to plan everything. What are we talking about?
Yeah. What are we going to talk about? Let's talk about our training weekend that we did in Pennsylvania.
So good place to start. Big fans of training to perform under pressure. She's been to a lot of the trainings. And if you go to their website, I believe it's trainingtoperformunderpressure.com. I'll confirm that. I'll put it in the link below for sure. But they also are the training arm for the Gary Sinise Foundation. So this was 3 days with some of the best instructors. And none of it was like super easy. We kept thinking, well, today will be the easy day. This will be the hard day, but it was all pretty hard at the end of the day, but it was a great way to fall back in love with the fire service. If you're struggling, it's a great way to network and meet great brothers and sisters. Like you got to meet me, which is amazing. Hold on. Oh my goodness. I just said that out loud. Now the audience, come on guys. All right. being this awesome is just, it's a burden really more than anything. Um, so yeah, and we met some interesting people along the way in those 3 days. Now let's talk about day one. What did we have day one?
Thermal imaging with Mike McCarthy.
The wonderful, fantastic, probably best instructor in the world, Mike McCarthy, right? He takes that kind of information and brings it down to our level. What'd you think about that class?
Oh, it's a phenomenal class. I think this is probably my second or third time taking that class in different settings, different conferences, or just solo by itself. And every single time I go to one of those classes, I always take something a little bit more away, or I understand the material just a little bit better.
I agree, Mike. I'm fortunate enough to teach with the guy, and so there hasn't been a time yet that I haven't learned something from him teaching, either about tick or something else. We were walking down the street of some place. I wish I could remember what it was, but they had these glass beads on the sidewalk. And he goes, "You know what that is?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "Well, there's a basement underneath there, and that's how the natural light gets in. So that's kind of one of the ways you know there's a basement." And he goes, and you show me some stuff, like you could tell because they covered these two ends at the front windows, but normally you could look down there like little transom windows or whatever. I'm like, holy shit! So again, one of the best. There's none better. But yeah, I did the same thing. I take something new every time. Now, how many different instructors have you had for tick, or has it always been Mike?
Yeah, Mike has been the only one other than the other guys from Training to Perform Under Pressure if they are, teaching with him. So
What's the one thing about the tick that you still are kind of surprised you didn't know? I can start it to give you an idea, unless you got something locked and loaded.
I know the first big takeaway I had was the relevance of the heat. Everything is relevant to the atmosphere it's in.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a big takeaway for me the first time, and the depth perception. And it's pretty funny how Mike does it when he has you shake somebody's hand or he put the bag over the guy's head.
Yeah, to cut the wire.
Yep, to cut the wire.
Yeah, it's funny because another thing I've learned from him is, your brain lives in 3 dimensions. So it's taking basically a 2-dimensional object and try to transform it into a 3-dimensional thing for you to understand. And therefore you're usually always short. You're always short of what you're trying to grab through a tick, what you're trying to do through a tick. And what I like to teach, which I've learned from the wonderful Mr. McCarthy, is, you do it several times in a row, you get better and faster, right? If you look like the way I would do it is I'd hold an axe in my hand with the handle sticking out, and then somebody be standing probably 6 feet away from me, and I would take that axe handle and I'd have the other person hold their hand like this, and they wouldn't move. And the guy looked through the tick and would put the axe handle in the hand of that person. Well, they would go real slow and real short, and then you do it 3 or 4 times, and then you tell them to drop the tick and do it. After they drop the tick and do it, and now they see it and put the tick back up and do it, it's even better. It's like your brain learns, like, okay, this is not the world I'm used to, but I think I can adjust. But it goes back to sets and reps with that stuff too. So yeah, that's really neat. For me, it was just turning it sideways. I've never felt more stupid in my life than when I learned to turn a tick sideways. I'm
Yes.
like,
Yes.
it's in your hand right there the whole time. It makes perfect sense. None of this is like brand new stuff, but when somebody's like, "Hey, turn like that," you're like, "Holy shit, that's pretty cool." So that's probably the biggest one for me that I ever took away from it. So
Yeah, I agree with that. I forgot about the turning it to the side. That's basically how I hold my tick now. It just doesn't seem like there's any other way.
exactly, and plus wearing that strap, the way they have you wear a strap for the tick makes a lot of sense. It really does
It does.
free up your hands, and well, I'll tell you what I took away from the class this time too, that I kind of knew, but I didn't really apply. And that is, don't live through your tick. Like, don't like every move doesn't have to be through the tick. You put it up, you look, you do your live fire layout and all that. But if you have to move to another point, you don't like go through that tick. And I feel like that made me a little bit faster than trying to stick through that tick. When I first learned it, it's like every time I'd go to one of my kids like plays or whatever, you see all those parents filming through their phone. So they're literally missing it because they're watching it through their phone. And so you're missing out is what I'm getting at. So yeah, that was one of mine as well. And we also was that the same day we did cans?
No, irons and cans was the second day.
Okay. So we'll keep talking about day one then, because I thought it was a fantastic day. That's how we started out. So we did about 3-4 hours in the classroom. That's the only classroom you really had.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you spent the last part of the day doing nothing but live burns, which I thought was awesome with a tick.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. Actually, you said something about living through your tick, how McCarthy references it. Don't be an iPad kid standing. I like that reference because, I've heard him say that, and I've heard him go, talk about not doing that. Don't use it as your only set of eyes, because there's nothing better as a search tool than your hands. And they're not wrong, because I lived through the iPad there and the first search that we did, and it definitely showed. And I was like, wow, I really need to step up my game. Like, I completely passed over all those little baby rings we were looking for. And I was like, I swept right by them just because I was like, nope, don't see it in the tick. I'm going to keep on moving. So, and then we have our immediate following, like, debriefings afterwards. And they're like, yeah, you really got to stay off the tick a little bit, just quick look, get a layout. That's, and then you go find what you need to and use your hands. It was almost like I wanted to just not use the tick anymore because I was just so reliant on it.
It's one of those things that we are all such creature habits in the fire service, and it's pounded into our brain to sets and reps, but that can work against you if you're doing the thing wrong, right? Like again, yep. I've lived through that tick too, so that's really, really hard for me to break. So you're talking about the rings thing. So of the several live burns we had, the ring things was fun. It was kind of a search, using your tick to search, but it wasn't really. They didn't really call it a drill. They called it a lab. They are very particular with the words they use because they're not about making training scars. So for us, I went with brother Cameron, and I thought we did really, really well as far as communicating, which it all comes down to communicating. I don't care what training you do. If you can't communicate, you're not going to do it well. But they would take these kids' rings that are different sizes, and then you have to put it on this peg. And they would dunk them in cold water so they would show up dark on your tick, and then they just spread them throughout. Then you had to find them. So, and then once you found them, you had to put them on the peg, and then it had to be in the right order. It was actually really, really cool. The only problem with that particular burn room is the ceiling was so high. It was really sort of difficult to get the smoke down, any real heat, you had some, but I've seen those types of burn rooms before, and it's the higher the ceiling, either the larger the set or multiple sets are needed to really do anything to bring it down. But the other part we did was we just kind of sat around and watched Mike take everything from the classroom and put it in the live fire setting. And we would just look through our tick and watch everything happen, the convected currents and everything. What do you think about that particular one?
Yeah, I think Mike did a really good job, like, taking it from the classroom and actually applying it and showing us, like, fire behavior, thermal layers, and, like, addressing it with the thermal imaging camera itself too, like being able to see the heat rise. And one cool thing about those high ceilings, I thought, was when it did all that heat and those convection, those currents, they would hit the ceiling. You could see it almost look like an upside down waterfall. Best way to explain it.
We talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, man, what is that called? There's got to be a term for it. Still have not to figure it out. So, but yeah, it looks like an upside down waterfall. It's just those dirty, those carcinogens, right? Like pouring up to the top and kind of dissipating across the top of the ceiling to start building, thicker and thicker layers for those thermal barriers, I guess.
Yeah, when I did, I was sort of an on-call arson investigation. I told you they had a name for that because that's one of the things you would look for. And I cannot for the life of me remember it. But I think from now on, since it is tall and hot, we are going to call it a Jake.
I don't think I laughed too hard at that.
I just found all this cool parts. They add stuff to the software all the time, so I love it. Excuse me. So then we did some more live burns downstairs, to where basically we did a kind of a mini water mapping, and then you'd watch how it affected the heat in the other room where the water was going, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What about that? Are you actively learning about water mapping, or was that a new concept to you?
No, I actually learned about it, I think, at their conference last year in Tennessee, or I started, like, I've heard the term before, but they put it into play for me more at Tennessee, and then being able to apply it in live fire was the first time I was able to do that, other than, fires, like actual structure fires. So
It's amazing. It's amazing how in the fire service, it was always about, you'd always hear you got to have more GPMs and BTUs, with the implication being it's all about a ton of waters, throwing a ton of water at it. And with proper water mapping, you realize you don't need as much water. And I'm not saying people are listening right now going, oh, bullshit. Well, the study shows they went from 2 rooms fully vented. They could put it out. They did it 5 times. And I think it was 256 gallons the first time. And then the last time they did it was 152 gallons. That's not a lot of water at all for 2 rooms fully vented. So it's amazing. I'm not saying, we don't catch plugs and shit like that. I'm just saying a more informed firefighter will realize that 500 gallons or 750 in your tank, if done right, it can do a lot of good for those people that need it. Now I was going to show you. So you remember Mike had several, bad jokes, right? That nobody laughed at. So I love Mike to death. I do the same thing. I have these jokes that just do not land. And that's really the funny part of a bad joke. And when you're teaching, is because you throw it out there and it doesn't get any laughs. To me, that's hilarious. I love it. So I bought one of these for myself and I sent it to Mike. So he's received it. And if you hit the button, you hear. So when he's teaching hilarious. Now, he can have it at his desk when he's teaching. And when he has that, nobody laughs at his joke, bam, he gets his own laugh. See? Community college taught me an awful lot.
Always thinking.
Yeah, one of these years I'm going to actually graduate. Anywho, what else do you want to talk about when it comes to our day one?
Yeah, I mean, I think by far that was our longest day.
Yeah. That one
had
5 or 6 o'clock. And then what did we do afterwards?
Was that the lobby beer and lobby pizza night?
I think that was. But remember, we have dirty lobby beers and clean lobby beers. There's a difference.
I've never had the dirty lobby beers. Oh wait, no, I did. It was the last day.
Where we were late the first day, so you were going to do dirty lobby beers, but you went ahead and decided to have clean lobby beers, right?
I did.
Okay. Could you explain to the millions that are listening right now? By that I mean my grandmother. It's just her. Normally it listens.
Yeah.
What is the difference between a dirty lobby beer and a clean lobby beer?
Dirty lobby beers after you get done training and you smell like just awful, and you go sit and have a beer while you still smell awful before a shower. And then a clean lobby beer, you go up to the room and you take your shower and you come back and you have a clean lobby beer.
Boom. That's it. You got to have dirty and clean lobby beers. We earned them. Got to have them. But yeah, we did that night. We had dirty beers. You had clean beer, lobby beers, and we had pizza. And I think people were coming by thinking it was a buffet and like trying to take our pizza, right?
They did. They were kind of scoping it out.
Yeah. They're like,
I mean, we'd offer it to them. I feel like it was offered and they had options to take it.
Sure. They were trying to take advantage of us because we looked like homeless people at that point. We looked pretty rough.
Yes.
So then we head up to day 2. So day 1, you're pretty wiped out, but you had a good day training. And it wasn't the most physical day. would you agree? Like day one, the cans and tick class, I'm sorry, it's a tick class basically. It wasn't all that physically exhausting.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I think it was more of I mean, if I had to do the lines over ladders before the tick class, I feel like the tick class might have been a little bit more exhausting with like the high heat and whatnot. But I think it was more of they explained it well. It was more of a lab, and it was a good learning environment, I think.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So then day two, we did the cans and irons, right? Is that right?
Yeah, irons and cans. Yeah.
That's what I said. Irons and cans. I don't know why you said I said something different. That didn't
I'm
even make sense to me.
I'm dyslexic. I actually said it backwards there.
Oh, good. Because I didn't think I made mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm married twice, and okay, I make mistakes. So let's see. So we start that day. What time do we got there at 7? Every day started at 7, pretty much.
Yep.
Okay. So we get there, and the first thing we have is pimp your can. Right?
Pimp your can, yes. John taught the anatomy.
Tell us about Pimp Your Can class. Fantastic class.
Great, yeah. You break down the entire water can. You go through all the different parts of your water can that you didn't think you could actually break down that far. And then
I had no idea.
Yeah.
People think you unscrew it and that's it. Maybe there's a plastic thing in there in the neck, but they think that's it. But there's so much more, right?
There is. I mean, that was the second time I've taken that class, and it was the second time I was able to take it fully. Or the first time I was actually to take it fully and do the whole live fire with it. I did get a takeaway from this one. With some of the water cans, they have that spring inside of the tube that needs to go back in a certain way if you have a certain brand with a tapered spring, or not screw, spring.
Yeah.
And if it's tapered, you got to put the big taper down. That was with the paint my can. That was my takeaway this time.
You know what's funny is just today at my department, we were ordering new cans, and 4 new ones. I swear to God. And first thing I said was like, they cannot have the plastic bottom. They gotta have the iron all the way down, or the aluminum all the way down. And then I asked, somebody had one of the companies had a that is the duck calling me. Sorry. They have a strap system, and first thing out of my mouth, I was like, 2 point or 1 point, bruh. And the reason I bring it up, check this shit out. Tell me I'm not dedicated. Got to open this up. I got my golf cart straps, and I got my can holder, the good can holder to put it to. So I took that shit seriously, and I got an extra strap for maybe tick. Where'd you go? Are you leaving?
The yoga block I had holding my phone up fell off. So.
Cheap ass Michigan firefighters. Look at my setup, man. It is high tech. I spent over $14 on this stuff.
I have a yoga block and a push-up thing.
There you go. Oh, see, look at that. That's what I was showing you. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh yeah, that's great. Did you get it off Amazon?
Yes, got it off Amazon. I'm going to pimp my can. So
awesome.
You pimp your can. They have also, tell us about what they have on the pin that you pull. What's kind of unique to
that? They have a paracord tied to the cotter pin that they put in to pull out, and it's actually tied to a glow-in-the-dark golf ball, which makes it super easy to see.
Yes, absolutely. Could not agree more. That was so cool. Guess what I have upstairs? Glow-in-the-dark golf balls. Yeah, and an unhappy wife. Mostly because of me. I'm a little bit of a pill. Just saying. Yes, so you got to see all these different cans. They had like 10 cans. And then another thing I never thought of is they have you break the whole can down, and it actually breaks into like 6 pieces, I think. But you unscrew the hose, and I've never known about that washer that's inside the threaded part of the hose. Never knew about it. I'm an idiot, probably. Didn't know. And then you break it all down. It was really good. Then after that, we went outside, and we practiced spraying it to see the distance, the time and the distance, and how you could, like, I would count, because the rest of the time, the rest of that day, they're like, you got to tell us when you got half a can, when you got a quarter can, and you can't really tell. That little gauge on the side rarely works. So what was your way to tell whether you had half a can or a quarter can left?
Just knowing like how much how heavy it is when you're able to lift it up with the 2.5 gallons inside of it, and then you kind of just gauge. You kind of get familiar with it the more you operate, just knowing your tools, right?
Right.
And then the whole when we did that spraying 50 feet, making sure you know how far your can spray, and you kind of got a second a foot, and then you know kind of gauge it on distance if you have the room to gauge it on the distance, but you know the time that you've been in there. So
I love it. I did. I took that 50-50 to heart, 50 feet for 50 seconds. Of course, you lose that distance, but uh, I timed how long mine was gone, and it was around 50 seconds till it was empty. Right. So I would start counting, 10 seconds. Like I'd spray it, and it'd be like, one, one, those two, those three, and I would stop, and then I'd spray again, and it was pretty close. I don't know that I could do that in a real fire. Hopefully I would, but I loved it because it made me focus, right? So I wasn't going to slip into, well, hopefully the goal is not to slip into some kind of amygdala hijack, in a fire when you're with a can, right? So counting kind of helps you do that, stay in that prefrontal cortex. So I really enjoyed that. And then, so now we've done the station, the workstation, and we've thrown water, and now we are going to do live burns after lunch. And we also, I'm sorry, we got to go back. We also did irons, right?
Splantery.
Yep. And that was a really good class. It was so simple. You can so complicate forcible entry. You really can. I'm sure I've taught it way too complicated. If you get into the physics, class 1 lever, class 3 lever, and all that stuff, it's so easy to get distracted. And everybody loves bevel to the door or ads for an outward swinging, blah, blah, blah. But the way they taught it was so easy and nice. A great starting point. I'm not saying, you don't use the rest of the irons, but your starting point is important, I think, right? So we had an inward swinging door, and we would start with the ads and work it that way. And I could not, for the life of me, I struggled so hard putting enough weight and strength up to break it originally. And I was like, I'm doing something wrong, because it'd slip out. And I was like looking like an idiot, which is weird because I'm normally perfect all the time, which isn't true at all. I'm a complete fuck up. So, but then it hit me that, the ads at the top is kind of curved. So when I kept pushing directly up, what happened is it pop out, because it really wasn't going directly up. It was kind of going up and left. When I figured that out, I would go up and a little bit right. And every time after that point, so it just goes to say that working with your tools and not being afraid to fuck up, which I've kind of made my career on, and learning from it is the important thing there. So what about you? I'm gonna sneeze. Oh my God. Let me see. Hold on a second. All right, guys. Come on.
Where's your laugh button? You didn't use your laugh button.
Oh, hold on a second. Oh, hold on a second.
There it is.
Also, I have this one, so when I'm teaching and somebody does really good.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm all about that life, bruh. So, so you do some forcible entry, then they tell you about live fire layout. Can you tell us about live fire layout? What are we talking about?
Live fire layout, your first clean look, last clean look, I guess, when you get in, open the door, you're able to, because they say, I don't know the percent of victims that are found within like the first 4 to 6 feet of a doorway.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Or
it's more than 1%, less than 100.
Something like that.
Yep.
Like 27 comes to mind. I don't know. I'm not on FSRI or UL right now, so I can't really tell you the exact.
Just the fact that you know those terms, though, makes me happy. FSRI. Yeah, UL.
Yes. Yeah, basically you're going in kind of a little look and hook, right? You go in, you kind of, if you have your thermal imaging camera, great. If not, you're using what you have. You're kind of getting a layout of the room. You're kind of looking to maybe find out where the fire is, if the smoke is lifting, if it's pushing a certain direction. Um, Looking for life. What is the first thing when you're looking for that first 6 feet? And if you don't feel anything or see anything, um, yeah, life fire layout.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It was a lot of fun. So we'd force the door, drop down, and go inside and look around real quick, left, right. It's easy to, at least in training, at least I think it is, to just do the mechanics and not really utilize them. And what I mean by that is you show somebody how to drop down and kind of look around, and they can drop down and flop like a fish for a little bit, but they're not really taking anything in. They're not really looking through the camera and looking to see what's happening in training. So the first time, I think I just kind of flopped around like a fish just to, and then I thought like, that's stupid. And the next time I did it, I was actually looking really hard. When we did the scenarios, I was like trying to treat it as real as I could be. I'm like, all right, I'm looking over there, and okay, I'm looking over there. And then I come back out, give my report to my partner, and then we quick mask. So quick masking for old Jakey, holy shit. No, I gotta get way better at that. That was terrible. I would pull the uh, back of my hood up, my gloves. I'm already looking at going over to Louisville and buy some new gloves because mine were just so puffy and they didn't fit right. And if you want a quick mask, you're going to need really to do that. So I learned that there. What would you learn when you did that part we're talking about? What was your
The quick
big takeaway?
masking.
Quick masking and the live fire lookout. Anything like pop out at you like, oh man, I didn't do this right, or I can do it better.
I always can get better at quick masking. I didn't really start practicing that until maybe last year because we always used to mask up on the truck, and not until we didn't even change from masking up on our truck until I went to that training in Tennessee and came back to the department and was like, hey, I kind of mentioned it, and we kind of started changing things at the department a little bit. So now we mask up when we get to the door when we're outside. So I think that's a little step in the right direction, I think.
I always masked up on the truck. And I think I don't fight it too much anymore simply because these newer, like I'm not a gigantic MSA fan, by the way. It's G1s. I'm not saying they're the worst.
You guys run MSAs.
What's that?
I forgot you guys ran MSAs.
Yes. So I'm not a huge fan, but the thing they got in spades is their mask. Their mask they got a ton of vision. I do love the mask very much, but quick masking with it, I couldn't do it. It was because of me, not because of the mask. It was totally because of me. I just didn't have the right stuff. So I've since done some things. Now, you have yours taped up? You have your top straps taped up, is it? Or both, or all four?
I have the top two straps taped to like the tension it needs to be, and I have the bottom straps kind of folded on top of themselves at the ends. So it's easier for me to grab with my gloves on, so I have something to feel for.
Mm-hmm. So I learned that, and I've got to say, I was working out today, like we talked about, I'll go out and put my gear on and do stuff for a while in the mornings. And that's my workout. So that's one of the things. I was looking at my mask and I was like, shit, I got to tape these up. I got to do that. So I'm working on that. But real quick, we're going to wrap up part 1 and come back next week for part 2. Now, part 2 is going to be weird because I'm going to be wearing the same thing. You're going to be wearing the same thing. And everybody's going to be like, wait, did you just put a break in the middle of your 1 hour? I'm like, no, we don't do that shit here. Not here at 3 Point Firefighter. So I want to tell you, thank you very much for being on part 1. And by the way, don't go anywhere. This is just a thing I do for my break. And I hope to see you next week back on 3 Point Firefighter. So thank you very much. And I will see you next week.
Okay. See you next week.
And we're back. Hey, Michelle, how are you doing?
Oh, great.
Yeah, I forgot to prepare you for that. I kind of let you down. Yeah, I've got to do my break in the middle because I break these up into 2 episodes.
Oh, they're like 50. Are we still like on it?
Oh, we're still on. You're being recorded right fucking now.
Oh,
wait, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a transition. Okay. I'll give you a transition so you know. How's that? Or do you like this transition better? Hey, welcome back to
first one.
First one? Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Point Firefighter. Last week we talked with Michelle Harris about stuff. I hate lying. We're still talking about stuff. But anyway, fast masking. So yeah, I bought 2 big keychain rings to put on my bottom strap. So I, like what you said, where you double yours over so you can film with your gloves better. A guy in Washington showed me this, and he had his in there to where he could actually loop through those straps and pull back a little bit faster. So either I could loop through it with my gloved hands, or I can just grab them like you do with yours and just feel the difference and go back, especially when you're at a door and you're getting ready to, go into a house fire. So I got to work on the fast masking because I did suck hard at that. It was terrible and quite embarrassing. What else? Let's see. I screwed up the forcible entry, got better, screwed up fast masking, working on it. What about you? Anything?
I didn't do great on the forcible entry when we were working from like a standing position. When we started working lower, I feel like that's where we all kind of excelled. Like we all,
Yes.
I know I was like, I remember the first time I was forcible entry trying to work with one of those doors, and I was awful, awful. And I was able to, and one of your guys actually sent us all videos of us forcing, and it was the only time I did it like super well. So I was like, yes, when does that ever happen?
You couldn't have hit the nail on the head better. That was true. Once we went inside the training, or I'm sorry, the training tower. We had to work low, right? Because of the heat and smoke. So of course there wasn't any at this time, but that's what they were teaching us. And it was so much easier. It was 1,000 times easier. It also had the door was on the hinge was on the opposite side. So I was able to use my right hand a little bit better. Whereas when we were outside, I was using my left hand. But I think, and I was thinking about this, I think I was grabbing like the forks, right? So I got the adds in, it's inward swinging right door. And I couldn't, like I was trying to hold it in place, and I was just doing terrible. And then I tried to get underneath of it and use my legs. But I think what would have helped me, once I get that bite, I probably need to come off the forks as much as I can and use as much torque as I can. And if I'm able to switch to my right, great. But you saw me. I tried to switch one time and just kept falling out. So we have a force door where I'm at, and that's a thing I'm going to start hitting really hard, is trying to use my weaker side to make it better. But yeah, that was an eye opener for me. But at the same time, they didn't overwhelm you with, you got to, dress out your Halligan. You got to have your marks here, here, and here, square the shoulders.
Yeah.
It was a really down and dirty, this will get you in a door, more than likely, a residential door.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that's more realistic too than what you're used to seeing. Like, where, they take the pieces of wood and they soak them and they try to make you force through them. And you're just kind of like, I never want to force a door again,
No, I mean,
That was a great training. Yeah, I like how they were like, we're trying to be realistic here, and they were building the body mechanics for like letting us build the body mechanics and get the reps in that we need to be good to actually start doing more intense type of trainings. I think it was great.
It was a short time too that we were learning. I think we took, if you screwed up, you pretty much had plenty of time to practice, and then when we did the live fire portion, we were pretty much on point. And that's what I liked about them. They didn't like cover you with all these must-haves. They're like, hey, here's an idea, try it. If not, try this. They weren't hammering you like, no, it's 2 degrees to the left, and you got to remember it's a 15-to-2 ratio, and blah blah blah. They were actually it was like you were taking a class in a bay at your department with a hellacious instructor, and they were just breaking it down nice and simple. So
yeah, it's a great way to explain it.
Well, I'm pretty fucking smart. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Yes.
Or I'm full of myself. That's one of the two. I can never remember. It's one of the two. So then we did live fire. I loved the live fire. The live fire for the can class and the irons class was amazing. You would open up. It was a go, no go. You had to decide if a room was go to worth searching or no go. And this was only with a can. So with a hand line, it's a little different because you can make a no go into a go. This one, you'd open up the door and the fire was just pushing out of that room to your right, just like it looked nice. And you had to go in, not try to knock it back a little bit with your can, use your Halligan, close the door, and then your partner would go to a forcible door in there and start forcing that door. And my position was I was on the can, so I had to keep painting the door. What was it? What does that mean for people? What's painting the door?
Oh, painting the door. How did they explain it to us? It's like when you go around the king stud, around the top of the door jamb, going down, and then with the door closed, and you kind of watch how it reacts. You're trying to control the environment for enough time for your partner to, in our case, was to force the door and do a primary search, but then also you paint the door from the top down to kind of see if the conditions are starting to worsen, right? By like
Yeah.
seeing if there's more smoke or heat or how much is evaporating off the door and how quickly.
Yep. Exactly. And it was kind of neat with that one because I, for me, I could not I could not see hardly anything. There was so much smoke, right? So I don't think I didn't have. I don't think I had the. No, I did. No, I didn't have a tick. I'm sorry, I didn't have a tick. So I had to like try to guess where to paint the door. But then if when I would stop while my partner was forcing the door, you could start to see it around the edges. The fire would come back, and I'm like, oh, I can see that. And then I'd spray that. But then I was just spraying into the dark because I thought that's what they wanted. I was like, maybe I'm supposed to paint this door the whole time. So I'm doing that. And the guy's like, shoves a tick in front of my face. He goes, oh, no, look what you're doing. I'm like, oh, okay. So it was really cool. And then my partner forced the door. At that point, they go into a whole nother room to search. And then I go, or the can person goes to that room, to that door, so he can hear his partner and stay in contact with him, but also paint the door. That was the hardest part for me, was painting that door from that position, because I really had trouble seeing at that point. And I didn't know if I was doing it right or not. Either way. So fun class. What was your big takeaway from that one? Anything?
The go, no go. I know during the go situation when my first partner, because I went a couple times to make
Did you
up
say
for the
fart?
lack.
I thought you said fartner, like my first fartner. I'm like,
My first partner,
initially.
uh, yeah, my first partner that I went in with the go situation, I remember going to do the search, and he had the can to go kind of knock back the fire, if you will. And then we had to keep in communication with each other. And I know the first day we didn't have great communication, so we were trying to keep in better contact with each other. And when I was performing my search, I was kind of giving him a layout of what I seen, what I was searching. And then after I got done with my search, I said, I'm good. I'm good. We're good. And then we got some instant feedback from the instructors, which I love that they do that, because it really makes you understand what you did and like how you can improve it. And they were like, you can't just say I'm good. Like he wasn't picking up, my partner wasn't picking up like what's good, what is good. Like, say the search is clear, making sure that you are very concise on and what you're saying to your partner. That was my big one.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. We wrap that day up. We're pretty exhausted. We go back to the lobby for. Do we have clean beers that day? I don't remember.
I
We had lobby
think
beers.
I
No, the
don't.
second night was the social.
We still had lobby beers. We ended up being late that day.
Yeah, we had dirty lobby beers for a little bit. Then we went to the social.
That's the our Hawaiian friends.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, they were there. Yep.
Yep.
And we took them all to the wrong place.
Yes, we did. We did do that. It was 4 people from Hawaii. I don't have their names right in front of me. Love them to death.
Yeah.
And they were like the coolest people to hang out with. And it was really
Awesome.
neat, to hear their culture and stuff, and how they'll just beat your ass if they want to, I guess. They were
Yes.
fantastic. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. So we went to the social, had a little fun there. Now we're heading to the last day. This is the one that was supposed to be the easiest.
That's what we were told. Yes.
That's what we were told by you.
Maybe me.
Yes,
Me.
I
I
remember
just
you
said I
saying,
loved ladder work. Not that I was necessarily great at it, but I
mm,
do like it. You know,
right?
I like to improve at it. So if I can,
It was a lot of good ladder work and hose work, lines over ladders. So we started with lines, and so the first part of the morning was we learned how to just make quick bundles and pull the nozzle in the first coupling to the door. Repeated that over and over, and then with the bundles, is that when they brought out the kit, the like the little high rise kits and all that?
yeah, the packs with the 4.5 inch
Yes.
LDH that they had the straps with.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome. Yeah, I definitely want to bring those back eventually. We're working
Yeah,
to it.
it was so cool because the way it was easy to load, and you could use it in an open space, a very narrow space, or like on a stairwell, and they made it really easy, and there was really hardly any way to screw it up. You know, I think it was what 100 foot, wasn't it? There was one coupling.
Yes, yeah, one
Was it
coupling because
100
that
foot?
was how you determined where your nozzle and last end coupling would go. Is that
Mhm.
right?
I
Your
think so. Yeah,
connection?
and you could do it a bunch of different ways. That was a really good shout out to Neil, I believe, right?
Neo? Is it
Neil,
Neo or Neo? I think it's Neo. Neo? Neo.
Neil, the guy that was the main guy. I'm not talking
I
about
know who you're
AO.
talking about. He's great.
Yeah,
The other hose guy, not Theo.
not Theo. I thought it was Neil.
Theo's great. Theo's great too.
Oh yeah, Theo's great. We'll call him Larry because we don't know his real name. So we'll say Larry kicked ass and took names.
Yes,
But
Larry was great. Very patient. He was very willing to help everyone and answer all the questions.
yes, which I imagine can, he probably gets some weird questions. And he probably gets a lot of people saying stuff like, well, that's how we do it. But he was very patient, um, showed us a ton. I was blown away by that. I was really kind of blown away how a simple load like they were showing us could be used in almost any situation. I was like, that is really cool. And then we
Yeah.
got to hang out with Theo for deploying Minuteman loads, modified Minuteman loads, which
Yes.
was the first time I'd ever used a Minuteman, ever. It's true.
Wow. I
I
mean,
know.
the first time I used a Minuteman was at one of their last trainings too, and I learned it from Theo. So
He knows his
that's
stuff. He is anal retentive as all get out. I mean, making sure the stripes line up and everything. I love it. He does that all.
definitely appreciate that about him because
Oh yeah,
I really like line work now. I'm kind of a nerd about it when it comes to it now.
yeah. It's the pride he takes in it, and he takes that shit personal. And they kept talking about that one truck that, oh, it's so pretty. The one we were working off is perfect and pretty, and he wasn't kidding. And it was a little infectious, about we were loading it up over and over and over and over, and we're like trying to get better and better with it. That was a lot of fun. Then came the ladders. Well, now we're doing the ladders. This is what I was most excited about because I really, really, really wanted to throw some 28s. I wanted
Oh yeah,
to
you did a great job with that, by the way. I was
oh God.
asking Adam, and okay,
Can I move your bike, please?
yes, I have been summoned to move a bike so she can jump on her trampoline.
Oh, not a problem. Ever accommodating. Love it. Um, so I appreciate the compliment, but I felt like I did terrible with the 28. So I wanted to do the high shoulder because it'd been years since I've done it. I had shoulder surgery and I kind of talked myself out of doing it. And then when I told you, like every morning I go to work out, or at least Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I always have a 24 with me and I always go through the rungs, throw it one man, raise it, all that stuff. But I want to do it carrying it this way. And with that 28, I was struggling. There was some body mechanics there. I just wasn't getting the pulling it towards me and then pushing up and then pull back and push. That wasn't the place to learn for me personally, because there were so many different ways. Here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to say, can I just do this? But they were teaching me. So I'm like, I'm just going to do everything they tell me. So I did it a couple times. I thought I did pretty good with it. The good news is when at the very end, the last scenario we did for the whole 3 days, you and me were working together, and I had to high shoulder carry a 24 and stick it into asphalt, and I did it like really well. And I didn't know that the Hawaiians were behind us because that would have made me nervous. So I'm kind of glad I got it, because I was like, oh shit, when they go, hey, way to go, Chief. I was like, dude, if I fucked that up like the 28, oh my God. So today was the first day back to work where I did my workout again. And I did that 24 over and over and over. The way I took what they were teaching us and the way that I kind of wanted to do it, and kind of melded them together, and no problems today at all. Did it over and over and over.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. And I did do the Kawasaki knot method too.
Oh,
and I even did that part. I was like, I bet Adam would appreciate that.
He would.
Oh my goodness. What about you in the ladder part? What was the big one for you?
Oh, just about everything at ladders. Geez. I was like, I love ladders. I love ladder work. And as soon as I got down to working, because I always practiced when I came back from Tennessee, I was like, well, I really need to work on shouldering a 24-footer. I need to practice it. And I got really good at it when I practiced in grass. And then as soon as we started practicing in asphalt, that was a different story. And I was just not sticking. And then the difference between a 16-footer and a 14-footer or a 12-foot ladder, the awkwardness of trying to stick a 16-foot versus, I think even a 24-foot was a little bit easier than a 16-foot because the length was just those 2 feet of awkwardness on the balance. And so I did come back probably, I think it was the day, no, it was not the day I got back. It was the day after I got back. I practiced with the 24-foot on asphalt for probably about 3 hours to make sure I could do it.
Your shoulder had to kill you after that.
It was, yes, it was very bruised.
My shoulder and my knees are still kind of humming from that, but it's so worth it. Like the pain, the suffering, it's all for them, right? It's worth it for them. So I don't mind having hurt shoulders, my knees are shot and all that stuff. If that one time I need to be able to do something, I can do it, when they really need us to be there. So I see a lot of people that in training that are like, and I've seen it. I've done trainings for my old department, and people would say, oh man, my knees are so bad, I can't do that, or this, and I let it go. And I wish I hadn't, because it really is for them. Sometimes you got to work through that pain a little bit and learn your limits. Your limits aren't always what you mentally think. It's, you can always reset those, I think. But yeah, end of the day, after we did the ladders under the live fire, I was done. I was as done as I could ever be. Yes. And we ended up having dirty lobby beers.
Yep,
and more pizza.
We had more pizza. And that was a really good pizza too. And yes. Danny actually got salmon for me. She came back with some salmon when they ordered food.
Yeah.
So that was great. Yeah, she was great.
Real good instructor. So, and you're going to be part of the kids club, right?
I am going to talk to Greg about that tomorrow, actually. I wanted to call and follow up with him. We never actually finished our conversation, so.
Yep, those guys were off a bit. By the way, I noticed you got tattoos on your arms. I just want to let you know, I think they're unprofessional for firefighters.
Feel free.
Oh, never mind. Love that joke. I love it. It doesn't work as well. It's wintertime, and I got mine covered up. Then they kind of just want to punch me. I'm like, no, wait, I'm just kidding. Look, anyway. So I think we can and so let me sum up this way. I was so impressed with your work ethic, and you were the person that was always, I'll go, let's go. I'll go. You drug me through a couple things. And that really impressed me, because when I had your time on the job, I would have never done that. I'd be too embarrassed. I had too big an ego, if I screwed up, and I put too much on myself, like, you got to do it perfectly. You're new at this. But I was always impressed with that. I was like, holy shit. And you never you weren't one that honestly, I don't think you bitched one time. I don't think you ever said, "Oh, this fuck day's going on." Nothing. I don't know. I can't think of one time you did that. So I was always impressed. I had to have you on here, but I do want to say this. I always end my podcast the same way. I always ask them, what was the best firehouse prank that you ever played or had played on you?
Man, I was trying to think about that, thinking at the end. And man, best firehouse prank that I have seen or had done, the water buckets coming off the roof and getting someone soaked is always the good one I've seen.
That's a good one.
I know there was one where we would fill the boots with shaving cream if someone was on the news, so they would do that.
Oh, okay.
Or if somebody ended up on the news, not meaning to be on the news, it was a case of beer they would buy.
Nice.
So that's
So
about
I
the
like
best I
that.
got.
Those are all work. The only thing is, like, where I'm from, you would never mess with gear ever. That was like the one no. You would never ever mess with somebody's gear. I've seen people like fill up their boots with water, so when they get a run, they step in it and all that stuff. But yeah, that was the one thing you could never do. But to me, it seems like one of the funniest things to do.
Yeah.
The water bird, yeah, in Lexington they call it a water bird, and you can throw water on any rank, any person, as long as they don't see you. Right? That's the trick to a water bird. They can't find out it was you. They can look up real quick, but you got to make sure not to be there. If they run upstairs to find you, you can't be around. A true water bird at the time was, you never knew it. But you'd go up around the pole holes anytime during the day, and there was buckets filled with water around all the pole holes. So you knew somebody was planning water birds, or you'd be up there, and I would do it. I'd see somebody like a captain or something. I would just hammer him and then get the hell out of there as a new person, because they're very traditional about the water birds. They couldn't do nothing to you really, but if they looked up and saw you or caught you coming down the stairs, dude, that was a whole different story. So I love a good water bird. Bird.
Yeah, those are probably the best ones.
Well, Michelle, I appreciate you being on. I will be seeing you probably in a few days up at Great Lakes Hot. Be teaching up there. You're taking some classes up there. We're going to be out at Schoolcraft, and then wherever the social stuff is at. I'm sure we'll tell each other where the social stuff is at.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So I appreciate you being on. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, glad I could be on. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, you take care.
You too.
Bye.
See ya.
Today's podcast was sponsored by Fire Facilities, designers and manufacturers of realistic, built-to-last training structures and mobile units for 35 years. Make training count. Visit firefacilities.com for more information.